Listeners, welcome back. Welcome back to another wild episode of No More Lies with your boys, the Truth Seekers, the Boys Phenomena, Jam, Notch, Trizzy. Introduce yourself, boys.
How's it going, everybody? This is Trizzy, accompanying Jam and Notch, because I'm a big believer in truth, and we need to get to the bottom of some of these lies.
Hey, listeners, this is Notch. We're back. If you guys checked us out on our last episode, we killed it with some conspiracies following around JFK. We're back with another week, another episode this week, guys. Guess what we're getting into? Well, you guys know, but listeners, guess what we're getting into? We're getting into aviation conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Three major ones, in fact.
Huge ones. I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie; these are huge ones, gentlemen. I would love to dissect presidential assassination attempts on a future episode.
Yes, we were talking about that. We will definitely talk about that.
Yes,
That
definitely.
needs to be talked on. But
Mhm.
today we got aviation conspiracy theories. Boys, what have y'all heard? What are some? I know we're going to get into quite a few of them. What's one that we could start with that's kind of light, and then we could kind of work our way.
T. So we've got the ladder. We'll grow to the biggest one, which we all know the biggest one. What it is.
Yes.
But T, before you start, Trey, I know before we start getting into this, you got to pay the bills, man.
We always have to pay the
Oh,
bills. Thank you, Notch.
paying bills is good.
So to keep the lights on running for your boys over here at No More Lies Studio in an unmarked area,
Undisclosed with these aliens.
make sure you guys, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple, Cashbox, all your favorite, make sure you subscribe to those channels. And also in the comments, please leave us a 5-star review, which is recommended. And when you actually leave a comment, say it off top of the dome and just be honest. And those of you that are listening to us on YouTube, getting the kind of the visual of the episode graphic, make sure you guys subscribe to that channel, hit the notification bell when everything's there. Start speaking in the comments, start telling and passing it on. Maybe it's going to intrigue your mind to get into some more conspiracy theories to go down that rabbit hole. Also, follow us on social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook soon, and check out the Cool Attire shop. I know it has nothing to do with the search and the truth is out there, but there might be a t-shirt coming up soon for the No More Lies podcast. Did I miss anything, Notch? Trizzy?
No, I think you nailed it. But if you see somebody in a Cool Attire T-shirt, you know they're listening to this No More Lies.
Exactly.
So we might not have a T-shirt that says No More Lies, but you know they know the truth because that's what we're looking for.
They know.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we should do this the proper way. And if you guys know the three that we're going to be talking to, I say we start in 1971, hop to 2014, and then drop down to 2001.
Damn. Okay. There's some in
Okay.
betweens in
Are
there
you
too.
are you guys good in betweens? But those are the three majors. So starting in 1971,
Kick it off,
T.
Notch.
I'm gonna let you kick it off because you're the one that brought this up.
Okay.
I actually personally know this. I know Trey was a little iffy on this one, but he did his research on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually know about this because of the great show, the one and only Unsolved Mysteries.
Ah.
Oh, really?
This was definitely on Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes, it
So
was.
listeners, if you are our age and you grew up with Unsolved Mysteries and it freaked you out, you knew about this one, which was in 1971, D.B. Cooper. T, go ahead and take it away.
D.B. Cooper. The
Dragon Ball.
The infamous
Dragon Ball Z.
This is the most infamous plane hijacking ever on record. And it happened in November 1971. There was a gentleman who was in a suit. He had glasses. He was just a regular, average-looking man. He really didn't stand out. Entered on the plane like how they used to enter on the planes, where they're on the runways and you go up to the ladders and stuff. He goes and he sits down in his seat, has a suitcase, and he lights up a cigarette, and he's there. Soon as they get to, the elevation where they need to be and you can unbuckle your seatbelts, he grabs one of the flight attendants and he ordered
Bourbon and soda.
yes, he ordered a bourbon and soda, and he didn't drink it. And then he proceeded to tell the flight attendant that he had a bomb
And a
and that he
handwritten note.
and a handwritten note, and that he needed to have all the money and stuff like that sent to them. So they ended up dropping the plane, got the money from the police, went back up, and then he jumped out the plane.
Yep.
But he's nowhere to be found.
So basically, this plane took off from Portland, just like T said, in 1971. Mm-hmm. This gentleman was in C-18E, if you just want to know where he was at back in the day. In 1971, aviation was very big. It was blowing up and stuff like that. But yeah, he ordered a drink. He was able to smoke a cigarette. They were able to walk around. So all this stuff was just, the way he was acting was normal, wearing sunglasses, just a normal dude. And then he handed that note to the flight attendant and said, hey, 200,000 or I blow up this carry-on bag that I have that has wires and huge red sticks. He showed the flight attendant. They landed in Seattle. They switched out that 200,000 for 12 passengers. And then he said, we're flying to Mexico City.
Yep.
But after they took off, just something incredible happened. With the money strapped to his waist, he parachuted out of the plane.
Yep. And mind you, he jumped out of a Boeing 727.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. What was that, Trey?
So back when they still flew?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about Boeings? This is the whole episode talking about Boeing.
Those type of planes carried 106 passengers. So that was a big plane. It wasn't a small plane. So imagine him jumping out, and he also requested 4 parachutes.
Yes.
See, I have a question. Do you think he was working alone?
So that's one of the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that's one of them. Mm-hmm.
They think that maybe somebody in the airplane that worked for the airlines actually was a part of it with a couple of the passengers.
Mm-hmm.
I can believe that. Oh, go ahead.
What'd you say, Notch?
Go ahead, Notch.
Oh, you're good. No, yeah, you're good.
Oh, well, just listen to the story. Like, I feel like it's a famous story because as we're talking about it, I'm remembering it. And I was reading it, I was like, it sounded familiar. But I don't think that's something you pull off by yourself. And at the same time, I'm real curious as to who else was on the plane. You know what I mean?
They ruled out like 24 suspects.
Well, and I'm not thinking suspects. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking who is important enough on that plane that everybody agreed to pay $250,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I know it came from the government. The police delivered it to the plane when they landed.
It was all FBI, and
it always comes from the government.
Yeah, it does.
Came from the people. It came from the people.
Yeah,
it's my tax dollars.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, listeners, Trey was born in 1970. Been paying taxes since 1 year old.
I've been back paying taxes as long as I can remember. All
exactly.
But every time I look up, they're like, "Hey, we need more money for this. Yo, can you fix the road in front of the house? No, we're sending this to you. West Bubble somewhere across the ocean. You're never gonna see it again.
You're never gonna see that money ever. So
is there a better way I can help?
No, right?
Maybe if you give another 5.
So they had one primary suspect, which his name was Richard Floyd McCoy. He was actually a part of this somehow, and they actually did a description of him with D.B. Cooper, and he checked out with every single thing that D.B. Cooper did. And he was the primary suspect that everyone said it was him. And then years later, on the deathbed of this individual, he said, I have a secret to tell you. And he said, I am Dan Cooper. Yeah. And no one really knew, like, who the hell's Dan Cooper? So then they started to research and like, oh my gosh, D.B. Cooper, the guy that hijacked the plane. Like, they still haven't found all the money. Like, when they found some of the money, it was like washed away in Ziploc bags, and like the serial numbers were smudged off, and It was like cement and clay. Like
Okay.
it was, yeah. But they didn't account for all of the money. So, are they? Did he? How did he get away? He jumped out of a fucking 727 Boeing. Did he survive? Like, did he die on impact? But there was no parachute scene. There was no one seeing anyone trapped wherever he flew to. There were no parachutes caught in trees. Like nothing. So, like,
Well,
what happened?
I got a couple theories that tie in with each other that I found when I was looking up some stuff. So one was this Dwayne Weber theory.
I've heard of him.
Uh, Apparently he confessed to being DB Cooper on his deathbed.
Yes, yes.
Right? Confessed to his wife.
Joe Weber.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He had a criminal record. His wife claimed he had nightmares about leaving fingerprints on hijacked planes, and one day coming in injured, saying he just got some money. Um, the the theory that leads to is this L.D. Cooper theory,
Mm-hmm.
where Maria Cooper, who was the niece of Lynn Doyle Cooper, I don't know why everybody gets initials in this, but they do. Uh, Cooper came forward claiming her uncle was the hijacker.
Huh.
She stated that L.D. Cooper returned home injured the day after the hijacking and spoke about it happening while she was trying to get some extra money. Now, again, I do not think that this can be pulled off alone. I do think it'll take a team because as soon as you hit the ground, you got to get out of Dodge.
Right.
And I don't think that you can hit the ground at a random place.
Yeah, there was no way.
Yeah,
We
so
didn't have GPS, not back then.
no, and
Uh,
basically the flight plan. If you're looking at all the facts, not just the conspiracy theory, so let's look at the facts of the plane flight. So from Seattle, over Seattle, the plane actually in the box, if it was a black box or whatever, how they could see. The only time the back of the plane door opened was actually over Washington State. And then they
Mm-hmm.
had to, because it was supposed to go from Seattle to Mexico, and they had to refuel in Reno. Now, when he exchanged the 12, what do they call them? Just the regular
Passenger?
people, passengers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It only left him the two pilots and four crew members. And when they landed in Reno, that was all that was left in the plane.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about, did he survive this? Now, that's where a lot of the scientific part comes into play. Could you have survived jumping out of a Boeing 727 at high speed, negative 70 degrees Fahrenheit, no helmets, in a trench coat, wearing a coat and loafers at night, not knowing not being able to see because he didn't have any flashlights over the mountains of
See, now
Washington State?
that's where it gets real interesting, right? Because DB Cooper might not have been able to do that. We don't know his training.
So
There was a
they
gentleman
said there was
involved named
military training.
I
Yeah.
was say there was a gentleman involved named Kenneth Christensen.
Yep, yep.
He was a former paratrooper.
Mm-hmm.
He would have all of those skills that you just listed that would
Yep.
be needed.
Mm-hmm.
If DB Cooper is up there, like again, I guess if I'm writing the movie, DB Cooper is on that plane with his bomb. They go land in Seattle. At that point, you do the whole Ocean's 11 switch up everything, right? The hostages go off. He goes off with the hostages. He is now replaced somehow, some way by this paratrooper gentleman who
Right.
knows I'm going to have to jump out of the plane. Technically, I'm not sure where I'm going to land, but I'm going to have to survive and send signals so that they can find me,
Right.
which I think that gentleman is entirely qualified for.
Yeah.
So when they get into the air, he's just looking for the place he's going to take off from. He's looking for the place he's going to jump. He jumps out the plane, has everything with him, and then he's met by all the Coopers and everybody else involved and rushed down where they go split the money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's if I write the movie.
Well, yeah. Till this day, it's still unknown. But if you guys have anything listeners out there, if you guys have any tips on DB Cooper, was your uncle DB Cooper, great great grandfather DB Cooper? Let us know in the comments.
I do have a question for you, gentlemen, as well, though. Uh, that is a mid-air heist. How would you gentlemen pull it off?
I think in the
I don't know.
1970s, it'd be a little bit harder.
Correct,
Definitely
because we
without,
can't just
yeah.
call somebody. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. It's back in the 70s when this would have happened. If we're talking about DB Jammer or DB Notch, how did you guys get off of that plane with the
So
money and get away?
You just
before,
said it, though. Ocean's 11.
I was gonna say
well,
that's the
there's some,
only thing
yeah.
I could think of. But
Before I
yeah,
tell mine, I do want to give two quick crazy facts about DB Cooper. Dan Cooper was actually a French comic book character.
Yes. Yes,
So
they did say
he
that.
he definitely used a different name, different alias.
Hmm.
Second, which I thought was really cool, and this hits us true to the heart because we're all about this. DB Cooper was the one and only aviation pirate.
Oh,
I'll see
true.
that. Yep. Now
See what you did there.
No,
I'm
that's
laughing
fact.
because
That's not me
yeah, I was
creating
gonna
that.
say
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fact.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that is
only
fact.
way to do it.
I, I hear you, though. But yeah, DB Cooper is that type of mystery that will forever never be solved. We don't know who DB Cooper is. Um, is he a myth? He's definitely a legend.
The man, myth, and legend. To a lot of people, they believe that he is a legend. That he was. He. Some people say that he took that money and helped other people with it because he
Yep.
took from the government. So, a
Hmm.
flying Robin Hood. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners out there, if you heard the phone, that was because the FBI is calling us and tracking us and asking us questions. But as Trey asked us before, how do we pull this off? I don't know if we could pull it off. I think we'd
I
have
don't
to be
know.
back in the 70s to even attempt to do something like that. Nowadays,
Yeah.
you can't even, if you, this is my thing. I don't 70s, we've talked about this before. The government lies about a lot of things.
Oh, of
Do
course.
do I think that they he left with that money, or do you think it's just a story that they added to create this fictional character and they're okay, this is going on and stuff like that? Because in all reality, think about planes that have windows blown out nowadays.
Right.
It causes so much chaos, so much
Right.
the pressure. There's no way that he could have done that without the plane flying low and then surviving that type of parachute. So I don't know. I
What
think
if
it,
the pilots are in on it?
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it
That's
has to be a
yeah.
whole
I think
orchestrated thing.
I think there was more to the story, but again, we'll never know. But again, that's what we're here to seek the truth. One of these days, that phone call is going to be for real, and the government's going to invite us and say, "Hey, we're going to kill you, but first, we're going to give you all the truths," and that's what I'm here for. Not the death part, but
Exactly.
I'll try to escape.
So let's let's move on to the next one. What's the next one on the docket, Notch?
So, gentlemen, do you guys want to go in order, or do you want to
We could
mix
do
it up?
random. Yeah, we could mix it up.
All right.
I'm
So
cool with that.
because I think the last one is probably the biggest one in history. So let's leave that for the finale. This next one, I know T, this one hit you pretty well. You're the one that told me to watch some conspiracy
Mm.
videos on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
That would be Malaysia's Air Flight 370.
Yep. Trey, you know this one too.
Oh
What
yeah,
did you find out, Trizzy?
we were alive for this one.
Yes, we
Uh,
were.
I kind
Huh?
of remember those days. Uh, but the big thing I noticed was because it had been so long, I had to go back and look everything up again.
Yeah.
Um, and man, as I did, there were some things I didn't remember seeing, and things that I wasn't privy to, I guess, back in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
2014.
yeah, ever since Ancient Aliens, we've expounded some knowledge. Um, but the things I found were just that those same three orbs that you normally see circling around UFOs, that pilots report seeing around other things that they don't understand in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Those were flying around there.
Right.
And not to mix up too many conspiracy theories, but that's even supposedly technology from an ancient civilization back in the day. helped
Mm-hmm.
us build the pyramids and all that, given to us as a planet defender. Uh, I think it's nuts because on the second video you get to see them coming out of the water, which wild to me.
So
But
there's a lot of crazy speculations because even with the pilots, they said the plane was in the air for an hour.
mhm.
Radio towers were able to spot it and ping it, and then it went radio silence. So in the documentary that's on Netflix, it shows how a person can turn off the pinging radar. They have to literally climb into this air duct that's within the plane to dismantle it. You can't do it from the cockpit. You
Oh
have to
wow.
physically climb into this place to turn it off. There's been multiple people that do these simulations at their house because they're pilots, and they say there's no reason why the pilot took a turn what he did. It was a straight shot to go where they were going, to Kuala
Oh man.
Lumpur. It was a straight shot, but they went off in an angle. So, and then I was looking, there's a naval base um, going east
With
from
Diego
where they
Garcia.
were. What's that?
Diego Garcia, the United States naval
I
base,
I think
or the
so.
North Korean.
What is it called? What is it called?
So
It's like
there's the theory that the United States either shot it down or actually
yes,
hijacked it and took it
yes.
over, and that's the Diego Garcia
Okay,
theory,
it was yeah.
which is
It's
the
yeah.
Diego Garcia Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So the way they did it, they went off course and they ended up in that area
Yep.
and they took it down. And they said that, yeah, they took it down because they were in a bomb testing area, and they thought it was a threat. Like that's what's going around in them saying with things. And then others are saying too, the pilot, maybe he did that on his own because he had some mental illnesses,
Pilot
like
suicide,
some
mass murder.
yeah, exactly, some mental things going on with him as to why he took it down. But then I also heard that they had people that worked from CERN and patent holders that were
Yes.
on the planes that they wanted to take it down as well. Like they
Yes.
said there were some big wigs on the plane that they could have been
Hmm.
taken down. And then there was another one that they said they made them land the plane successfully, but then they killed all the passengers or they're imprisoned somewhere in some country.
See, and I did hear about the CERN passengers, and I mean that lines up with a lot of what they say about CERN.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Oof, like it's haunted by things from other dimensions. Um, don't know if they were gonna spill some secrets or what
Mm,
made them so dangerous outside of they worked there.
right.
Because it wasn't. I don't think there was anything saying, "Hey, we have CERN whistleblowers," or "Hey, we have, the director of operations for CERN." Like I don't know how high up they were. You just
Right.
know that they worked there,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, to pull off some, I don't know. Like, I'm starting to meld this idea of extraterrestrials and a lot of the metaphysics stuff as just other dimensions.
Right.
Um, so it's one of those, if there was somebody on that plane that another dimension wanted to get and they had to go get the whole plane, that I just feel bad for everybody that was on the plane with them.
Right. And they were just casualties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was entirely curious because I do remember that being a big point as well, was when it veers off course, which has to be one of the scariest feelings as a passenger
Oh, absolutely.
because hell, half of you has no idea why you're off course or if you're off course. You
Mm-hmm.
just know you're flying where you're flying.
Exactly.
You're over an ocean. It all looks the same. Uh, Dude, but they got those little maps sometimes on the back of the seats that just kind of show you where the plane is and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when you see yourself going somewhere you're not supposed to go. Uh, Another one, the flat Earth people, right? Uh, what if this man's flying and he's supposed to be flying in the middle of the ocean and he sees land,
And yeah, right.
or he sees something that's not supposed to be there?
Mm-hmm.
and he decides, I'm driving the car, so we're gonna go take a closer look at this
Right.
because I'm gonna remember how to get back here. And as they kind of go towards taking a closer look, or he's discovering something, he at that point is not allowed to go back and tell that story,
Mm-hmm.
nor is anybody else on the on that
Yep.
plane,
Yep.
right?
It stinks of that Stephen King movie, The Langoliers.
Yeah,
Y'all remember that movie?
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, that is one of those weird ones because this one is a real interesting thing because I think they talked about finding plane fragments or
Oh,
parts of the plane like in the
2000,
ocean.
2015, they found a few fragments that are actually serial to that plane.
but you know what's funny though? There's a guy who's falsified a lot of that shit. Tell me why he was the first one there with it, and they actually found barcodes from the Nazis because the Nazis would do that to plant stuff as if
Oh, we found
to
it.
veer
Stop
people,
worrying.
yes, to
Yep.
veer people away from it. Hmm. Yep. How and that guy's been at every single thing. He was at Roswell. He was with a Malaysian flight, and he was with another one too. And that guy just happens to stumble upon it.
Yep. It's wild how cameras
Hmm.
work nowadays.
Hmm.
Because when they started tying in the what was it police captain during the Vegas shooting as the same guy who's the police captain in Maui during the
Oh yeah,
wildfires, who
right.
was the same police captain somewhere in
Hmm.
New Orleans when some wild stuff happened.
Yep.
Uh, I do believe a lot of times they've gotten used to being able to tell us a lie, leave it alone, and it never come back up.
And yep. Hmm.
Uh,
It
and
always
that's why
comes
they,
down to the original thing that we say constantly. We said this before, the razzle dazzle
The
effect.
razzle dazzle.
I'm
yes,
literally going to patent this. You look at this so you don't go back to this other thing.
Yep.
and I
And what's
thought
crazy
Malaysia
about
was
all that
a
is
big thing though.
you could do that with anything, either North Korea taking it down, the United States taking it down,
Yep.
the suicide, the fire, whatever you want to say. Even if it's that big and it's that big of a controversy, all we have to do is just take your focus away from that, so you don't pay
Yep.
attention.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
I
I mean
agree.
I think
that
the
was the other
biggest
thing I kind of remembered was I think there was other things going on when this happened, and everybody thought it was just a distraction story.
Oh yeah.
I think the biggest thing with this one is that plane. Even though, like you were saying with the maps on the back of the seats and stuff like that, that wasn't one of those planes. So a lot of the planes in other countries, especially like in Malaysia, unless you're flying in the higher economy or like
Yes.
the bigger planes and stuff like that, this one was just a basic plane.
Yeah.
So 30 flight 370 was just a basic plane, probably like a Spirit Airlines, if you want to
Hmm.
say, if you ever
Yeah.
flown Spirit. The biggest conspiracy that they really, a lot of them tie into is what you were saying with the pilot suicide, mass murder
Hmm.
conspiracy theory, and that's just because prior to that day, his wife and three children moved out of his house,
Yep.
and then his friend claimed that the captain was actually seeing another woman, and they were having troubles, and because of this, the woman that he was seeing actually separated from him. So that date, or the date that the plane actually disappeared, he actually flew over his hometown. So he veered a little bit off of besides the big turn, he actually veered to go over his hometown lower than what he should have been flying.
It just keeps. I don't know. It's
And what's
very.
crazy and
Yeah.
what's crazy about it is, if you think about this now scientifically, if we look at how planes crash, right? Most planes, they could either, if it stalls out, there's ways that you could actually get it to where if it's going to crash, they try to land where its belly or the top hits first, so it kind of skids. No matter what, a plane's going to explode into a million pieces, but you'll
Hmm.
always have those pieces. The only way a plane that can disappear with most pieces just disappearing from impact is a straight
Flying into
vertical
the
drop.
Pentagon.
Hmm.
Oh,
Straight
I guess
straight
that could do it
vertical.
too.
Oh, yeah. We're not talking about that one yet. But straight vertical drop into the ocean, because if you think about it, yeah, it's water, but after certain feet, water becomes cement when you hit it. And those planes just
Absolutely.
nosedive, straight nosedive. Most planes that nosedive, that they actually have tracked where they end up, literally have no pieces left over.
Mm-hmm. It's just
Now,
shredded.
hmm and those things aren't built to take impact. I
No,
don't believe.
no.
The Now, while we're talking about the razzle dazzle effect, right? During the time of the disappearance of MH370,
Mm-hmm.
which was an unprecedented and mysterious event that captured global attention. Remember, this was an international event. So it
Yes.
wasn't just us in America wondering
Right.
what happened.
Right. Right.
Everybody wanted to know. Do you know some of the global storylines that were going on at the time that they might have been trying to keep away from us?
Huh.
I thought wasn't there an
There's
earthquake
something
in
big. There's
2014?
something big that happened.
I got a list, and
Okay.
I'm saving the one that interested me most for last. So we had economic concerns. Various economic issues were being discussed globally, including the slow recovery from the 2008 financial crisis,
Mm.
concerns about the Eurozone, and debates over austerity measures in several countries. This took that all off the news.
Wow.
Um, Remember the missing Nigerian schoolgirls?
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That
April
Beyonce was
2014.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag bring back our
Yep. Bring
girls.
back our girls. That
This
was
took that off the
them.
news. The 2014 Winter Olympics. Uh,
Okay.
those games were not all that important when this was going on.
Mm-hmm.
It, I believe, was the last Ebola outbreak.
Holy shit.
West Africa had one. It was beginning to attract international attention. By March 2014, the outbreak had spread rapidly, leading
Mm-hmm.
to major health crisis. But then the plane disappeared, and we didn't care too much
And then
about
it was
Ebola.
gone. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We had the North Korean missile test,
I
where we
remember
kept
that.
telling them to stop doing it, and they kept doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Malaysian flight took that off the news. Uh, Venezuela had a bunch of anti-government protests. I believe they were in the middle of an uprising, which we were rumored to be involved with as well, CIA, FBI kind of stuff. But we quit worrying about that because we needed to find out what happened to the plane.
Hmm.
Central African Republic conflict. Uh, this one was real interesting because it began in 2012, and the whole reason that the conflict happened was because America went over and wanted to talk to them about the lithium mines that they found there. Right? You guys have lithium, you guys have cobalt. We didn't care about them until like now.
Yeah.
However, when we went to go ask them about getting mining rights, they let us know we sold those to the Chinese in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
On
Like,
some Black Panther shit.
yep. Uh, and so we started this whole uprising all through that area, hoping to overturn some stuff that never really happened. But it was one of those where I don't think I've ever seen a false flag using your own flag.
Hmm.
Uh, but we weren't doing all that well with that, but it took all that off. Syria was going through a civil war. Uh, I do remember a little bit on that one. I think we ended up getting the leader, and that was about it. We didn't hear the details about it.
Yeah.
But the one thing it did take off was the political crisis that was escalating in February 2014. Ukraine's president at the time, Viktor Yanukovych, was
Oh.
ousted, leading to increased tensions between Russia and Western nations. This is one of those where we put our people in and did our little magic on it.
Right. Right.
By early March, Russia had moved troops into Crimea, leading to the controversial annexation on March 18th, 2014. We miss all of that, or most of that conflict and those intricacies because we're focused on the Malaysian flight. But then the Ukraine conflict pops up recently again
Mm-hmm.
with these same agitators and the same
Yep.
issues.
Just different people in the positions.
So
And we just,
what's
yeah,
crazy is if you bring in the Malaysian flights and Ukraine in 2014, it wasn't just 370 that went down. There was also
There's another
flights.
one.
There was flight
Yeah.
17,
Yep.
Malaysia,
Mm-hmm.
same airline, flight 17, which actually went down in the Ukraine-Russian border, and that's where both that conspiracy theory that we know Russia took down this one. They
Yes.
actually killed all passengers and 15 crew. So 283 passengers and 15 crew were killed from a Russian missile. And that's why they believe that Malaysia Flight 370 was actually taken down from another missile.
Another missile.
Because of all the conflict.
Yep. And that's why the story that I believe is where they went to Diego base. I think that should happen there. I think that was another casualty that happened there. And it just shrouded in mystery with that.
And what's crazy is about Diego base that you bring that up is the other conspiracy of the phantom ghost or the phantom cell phone ghost calls. So family members are actually saying that they're getting pings or calls around that same time, but they couldn't get a signal when they try to pick it up. So they believe that their family members are still there, at least before they got their cell phones taken. Right. They were trying to reach them, but they couldn't.
They couldn't. Yep. Yep. That was a crazy. Yeah. Yeah, y'all got to watch that documentary on Netflix. That shit's crazy.
That same island is the one Godzilla's from, right?
I have no idea.
Godzilla can't reach. He's got tiny feet.
Right. Well,
can't stand off of those
not
islands.
Reaching them, but Godzilla comes from an island in that same area, where, according to his origin story, they do a whole bunch of nuclear testing.
Godzilla comes from. Oh my gosh, what am I? You are right. He comes from a nuclear island, but it was from. Oh my gosh.
I'm here to I just need somebody to help me understand why in all my comics and all my superhero stuff, radiation is an amazing thing. And then whenever people talk about real life, it doesn't sound so amazing.
This shit could kill us.
Yeah. There's no spider that just, randomly crawls through like a chemo session and goes and bites somebody and becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Getting hit by a bunch of gamma rays. As weird as it is, I don't know how harmful the gamma rays really are, but I know they won't turn you to the Hulk. You might go green.
Exactly.
Those things misled all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This shit's crazy. It's that razzle dazzle.
Was it the Marshall Islands? Am I thinking of the Marshall Islands? The Bikini Islands. Marshall and Bikini Islands.
Okay.
No. What?
That's Bikini Bottom.
All right.
The Bikini
I was about to say, the fact that I never got a SpongeBob Godzilla movie, if they was in the same island, I was a little angry. If you want to impress Sandy, I got this new pet that breathes fire.
Right.
She can control him. She knows how to control because she controlled the worm. I forgot the name of the worm, but
there we go. See, all the team thing.
Now, all right, before we get off topic and going to Nickelodeon and cartoons and stuff, we feeling good about the Malaysian flights? Everything, all the conspiracies, all dropped and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, because I honestly think that it was a solid disappearance, and without any kind of hint. I mean, I feel like we could deduct almost anything, because as long as at the end of the day nobody finds the plane or a passenger, technically, I feel like you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah, well, RIP to all 227 passengers and the 12 crew aboard that plane. RIP to you guys and your families. Yeah. What's on the next one? What's the next one?
So I think since we've knocked those ones, the 4 ones, unless you guys have any other small minor ones, I think we have to go into the major one. I really wanted to go on Flight 19. So which go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, Flight 19 was the one. It was back in 1945, where it was the five people that disappeared. They were the TBM Avenger torpedo bombers from General Motors.
Oh yeah,
and they
General
went over.
Motors.
Yeah, they went over from
Bermuda
Fort
Triangle.
And basically they all had great navigation training. They were just going to do a test flight. They were only going to go just a few miles off the coast from Florida, but they ended up going, and they went too far, and their radio signals started to fuck up. And then, for some reason, they were on the blimp, and then they were gone. Nowhere to be found. They
Oh.
haven't found any wreckage, any pieces, nothing. But some people have, this was also on Unsolved Mysteries as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them also said that they seen them go, and they went back to America where they were over Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they ended up
Mm.
in the Chattanooga swamps. But then come to find out, that was actually another plane that was part of something else. But years later, I want to say in the 90s, there was a plane that landed on some naval base, and it was a guy that was dressed in gear like from 1945, and he was like, I need to find my crew that's missing. And they were like, what crew are you with? He's like, I'm from flight 19, like there's 5 of us. And they told him there was no other planes that had came into the base, and so he took off and never seen him again. So like, was he a time traveling? They always say that Bermuda Triangle, ships
Mm-hmm.
always disappear, planes always disappear. It's something within the magnetic field when it comes to Bermuda Triangle, like just crazy shit like that.
Natural
So
portal.
yeah,
So what's
it's
crazy
just
about
crazy.
that one is that 1800 hours, the last message from Flight 19 was received in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The last message was from Taylor, the main pilot, the one that was in charge. He said,
Mm-hmm.
all planes close up tight. We have to ditch unless landfall. He said, when the first
Uh,
plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down
yep,
together.
yep, yep.
Mm.
And which is weird because, like T was saying, they had just taken off and they weren't that
They
far.
weren't that
But for some
far.
reason, Bermuda Triangle messes up with
Mm-hmm.
if it's a magnetic field, what's going out there. It's the craziest thing, and it's somehow disappeared. A lot of people don't talk about it, but a lot of ships they just don't fly in that area.
Yep.
They don't boat through that area.
Mm-hmm.
It's no
Yeah.
sailing.
They go
Those are
around.
instruments all
Mm-hmm.
off. But like Nikola Tesla, he was a big believer that energy and things like that all were vibrations, magnets, and was it ether? The ether that it all travels through.
Mm.
And so I can entirely see just a natural area of the earth that just has those kind of magnetic polarities,
I can
right?
see that. Yeah.
Uh, which would naturally scare anybody who's trying to navigate through there if
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden your compass just starts going in circles matching your clock.
Yep.
Uh, but I won't lie, I am curious. I'd like to go there one time. Is it
To
brave
live to
enough
tell the
captain?
tale. To live to
Well,
tell the tale. Well, then there's also
I'll
theories
Facebook
of
Live it.
that'd be good. Of Amelia Earhart too.
Yeah,
When it comes to
Yeah.
that,
I
like
forgot all about Amelia
yeah,
Earhart. We were
like
talking about
that whole crazy
aviation.
thing, like just
I
just a
remember they
fucking
thought they
crazy
found her.
thing. There's stories that they found her and
And
she was a prisoner.
what you call it? I think they used AI to retract the flight and all that stuff. And uh, as weird as it is, they like pinpointed like an island where they found a
Yeah,
skeleton
it's
and
like it's
plane
Yep.
called.
remnants and stuff.
They have wreckage of a plane. They see with the sonar for Amelia Earhart. This island. They call it Coconut Island. There's a reason behind it. It has a different name, but they call it Coconut Island, and it's because
Yeah.
of the coconut crabs that are there. And they believe that even if she wrecked there's that theory that she survived and lived on the island until she died. But even if she wrecked and she was injured and stuff, that those crabs there fed on the bodies. Even if she died there, those crabs eat so much that it just disappears. There's nothing there.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
They're
gone.
so strong that they could eat the bone, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I think it was Nicamaruru or Ruru Island. It's like somewhere close to Australia.
Yeah. New Zealand, if I
Mm.
know. Yeah,
Something like
those
yeah, something
islands
like
out
that.
there.
Yeah, those are
Yep.
crazy islands as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just crazy shit like that. Crazy
Mm-hmm.
shit like that. Just
And
you never know.
I, just because I see this as a solid pivot. So, what were you guys doing on September? What was it, September 11th, 2021?
Well,
Do
It's
you
like
remember
Trey,
that day?
did you forget the date?
I, I forgot the exact date. I
I
almost wanted to call it
I
September
can
1st.
I'm gonna use my prediction. I'm gonna psych this one out. I'm gonna guess that we were all in homeroom.
Yes, we were all in. I
No,
was
we
in.
were not.
Freshman year.
I was.
No,
I
we
was
were
in.
not.
I was in
I
Mrs.
was.
Hart's. I was
I
in
was
Well,
Mrs.
in. I
Hart's.
was in homeroom too.
this is what's funny. So peep this. You guys might have been in homeroom.
Trey, where were
I
you
was
at?
with some. I was with some other deviant children at the time. I could tell you 9/11 was a Tuesday. You
Yes,
know
it
how I know it was
was.
a Tuesday? Because back when we were in high school, that's when new music came out. 9/11 was the
Uh,
day that Jay-Z's Blueprint dropped and Eminem's The Eminem Show dropped. I was with those
damn.
deviant kids. We skipped school to go to that Pueblo Records and Tapes right off Pueblo Boulevard, right? And we wanted to go buy the CDs as soon as they hit the store.
Yep.
So as soon as they turned the little open sign on, we ran in, grabbed the CDs, paid for them, went over to an an unnamed friend's basement, and we were bumping those CDs all day. Yo, the whole plan was we were gonna hear these songs, we were gonna be the coolest kids in school because we've already heard the music, and we'd go back at lunch and tell you guys all about it. I'm here to let you know we showed up at lunch and wasn't a body out there. Yo,
Yep.
people used to be outside doing stuff. Yo, the parking lot was full, but we didn't see anybody when we got back to school.
Yep.
Well, okay, that's kind of weird. Maybe there's an assembly we forgot about. Man, we get inside, we climb up those little stairs, look in the auditorium. Nobody's there. There's not a sound. You'd have thought like the school was empty. All right. We decide we don't know what to do. We'll just kind of walk around the school and just hit our lockers, grab whatever we think we need for the back half of the day, right? Yo, we open the first locker, and the teacher, dude, it might have been Mr. Z. Teacher opens the door and yells at us like, "What the f are y'all doing in the hallway? And who let you guys out?" We're confused because we're like, "What is going on?" Students mad we're in the hallway. It is not even after lunch yet.
Yeah.
Uh, he yanks us into his classroom where all of a sudden we see the TV and just go, "Nobody's gonna care about Eminem or Jay-Z today."
Yeah.
Okay. Missed the entire first half. I missed the first tower, missed the second tower falling, caught up with everything technically right after lunch, which would have been like what, 12 o'clock our time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my my 9/11 story.
Well,
I'll
listeners,
never forget it. Anytime I hear those CDs, I'm just like, yo, this came out that day.
Yep. What were you saying, Notch?
I was going to get into it, listeners. This is the final one, the big one of
Yes.
aviation conspiracy theories that we're going to talk about tonight. That is of 9/11. So September 11th, 2001, four major flights. Flight 93, the two in New
Mhm.
York, and the one into the Pentagon. Gentlemen, who
And
wants
then the
to take?
one that disappeared, like in Ohio.
Well,
There.
that's what the conspiracies are for. Trey, go on and
Yeah.
take it away.
There was. Yeah. There was
Well,
a missing one.
yeah, because like you said, there were four planes that went missing. Three of them were found apparently in buildings, and the fourth one was found like landed in a prairie somewhere, like in Ohio,
And that was.
empty.
And
That's
that was.
90. That's Flight
Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That. Yeah.
Flight
and
93 was in Pennsylvania.
now I don't know too much about like how they track people, but I know how my plane ticket system works when I'm trying to go in there. I have had that ticket for X amount of time. Everybody in the airlines knows which seat I'm supposed to sit in. Um, the idea that you have a plane that lands and you can't tell me who the pilot was, you can't tell me who any of the passengers were. You just go, it landed in Ohio and it's empty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
Where
bugged
did it
out.
take off from? We don't really know. Well, can't you look it up by the numbers on the plane? Oh yeah, I guess we can. And oh, it took off from about the same place as the other three. The other three that were used as terrorist attacks. Well, yeah, this one is just chilling. Uh, and to me, that part is nuts. Because in all of the memorial stuff, you know what I've never seen? Pictures of the passengers.
None. You
I've
just see the
never seen
names. You
it.
just see
They
the
have
names.
names. They put
Mm-hmm.
names on the wall. They
Yep.
sure did.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm here to let you know Bart Simpson could put names on a wall. However, I've never even heard somebody say their family member was on a flight
Hmm.
or who was actually impacted and stuff. All you hear is that somehow, some way, for some weird reason, every everybody worth over $1 million who should have been at those trade centers wasn't there.
Yeah.
Anybody who had any investment in those trade centers, and I believe even the dude who was so involved with the ownership of them that he opened the doors even that day, and then
Wow.
inexplicably decided, I gotta go. Uh, like to me, there's a whole lot of weird things. Uh, Shout out to cell phones and everything. There's pictures of people like filming the towers, and you see small explosions going on before the plane hits.
Yep, you do. I remember
Uh,
seeing that video.
there's that one, and then the other interesting one, uh, in that lady who, and it was reported on live TV by two channels and a newspaper before it got like taken down and goes away. She was at her kitchen window, sees the second plane hit, and sees about seven Jewish people dancing in celebration right afterwards who drive off.
Wow.
Now, uh, as weird as it is, a lot of those kind of events tend to have those conspiracies that Israel is behind it because it, in fact, tends to impact a war against one of their enemies. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Israel was behind 9/11, please don't take us down. This is only for jokes. Uh, then yeah, we go into Afghanistan, go into clear
Yep.
out some of these areas that they say need to be cleansed,
Yep.
and they don't have to do anything.
And that pushes the whole narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's all
just
connected. All
yeah.
connected.
There's just so much crazy shit. Like I remember that was my second day back from school from coming back from North Carolina.
Mm.
And I was like, any other day, that'd have been scary because I was on the goddamn East Coast when all this shit was going down.
Yeah.
Like, just scary shit. Like,
Dude, I could
there's so
imagine.
yeah, just there's so many documentaries out there that show different narratives, even unsolved mysteries. Even though it has nothing to do with the planes, there was a girl who went missing on 9/11 with all that chaos, and
Mm-hmm.
she disappeared. She had a housekeeper and she was frantically just hysterical with the housekeeper and she just dipped. The boyfriend never found her.
Oh
Then they
wow.
even have the whole history or seeing that there was that Boots and Coots in Halliburton. They had representatives that were in the trade centers looking at the infrastructure, and people were saying that they seen bombs were being implanted inside of the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just so much shit and fuel burning buildings like that. And then the Pentagon, where there were so many documents as to why it hit that side of the Pentagon, like
And no
just
wings.
and no wings. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like a fucking missile hits the Pentagon. We've all seen that video. We've
Yep.
all seen it. It looks like a
Yep.
missile. It does not look like a plane.
It flies way too low
Super
to
low.
the what is it? I think that was the freeway,
Yes.
but nothing feels a sonic boom.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like there's
I think the only actual footage that they have is that grainy footage from the actual security gate that when
That's
they
it.
see
That's
it,
the
and that's
only
the one
one.
that we that's
Yeah.
the only one that we see from the Pentagon. So
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists, when you think of 9/11, let's go into the history of it
Yes,
before
let's
it.
get it.
So 9/11, just remember that there were four planes. I don't know which one we're talking about on the Ohio one, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on that one. But I do know the two in New York. We've got the two flights. That was
Mm-hmm.
175 and flight 11. Then we had the Pentagon, which was flight American Air. These are all three American airlines: American 175, flight 11, and then flight 77 that went into the Pentagon, and then flight 93, which is the one that landed in, or that crash landed into Pennsylvania. Now
Yes.
that one we all know because of the phone calls and stuff like this. So in 2001, flip phones did exist and planes did have phones, and family members did get phone calls from their family members on the plane that said, "Hey, the terrorists are here, but we're not going to let them do what they've been doing. We're going to take it over. And they actually crashed the plane before they could do anything. So we know that happened right there.
Right.
They found the bodies. They know it was a crash. The conspiracy is with World Trade Center is it happened. World Trade Center had been attacked twice. Back in 93, if I'm not mistaken, and then in
Yes,
2001. 93 was the bombs down in the car parts, and that's where a lot of people had the conspiracy that, oh, it heated the metal and stuff like that. We see other bombs and everything like that. There must have been bombs on there. The biggest conspiracy out of everything with 9/11, because with 9/11, it was big with me because I actually went to the World Trade Centers after this happened. My dad got married on the Hudson River. And if you went to New York, you heard stories. So where you're talking about nobody had family members, if you went down to the World Trade Center after it happened, a lot of people were down there still talking about this 3 years later. And I actually got to see World Trade Center before it became the memorial. It still had all they still had the wreckage there. It was pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
There was a two huge metal things that actually melted together and it formed a cross, and they kept it there before they built.
See that.
Yeah, so I actually got to see that. They pulled my brother there, one of the family members, and he pulled my youngest brother at the time, and he used him as an example and was like talking about it. And so the pictures are there. If you go to the World Trade Center, it's not just names. They actually had the photos on the memorial and stuff like that.
Oh,
the biggest one that is the biggest conspiracy is not the flights. If a flight happened, it caused a war, and war creates money. We all know that. And that conspiracy is George Bush may have had a hand in it and stuff like that, because we need war. War creates money, especially against the oil land countries, right? The biggest one, that the huge conspiracy, is the Pentagon. The Pentagon one is the footage out of everything was, why wasn't there footage except for this one grainy, crazy chop 5 seconds in between each picture of something that kind of looked like it was too small to be a plane, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just too.
So where did that plane go?
It was the same camera they used for the moon landing, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, the moon landing is high definition. We've discussed this. The moon landing is crazy. How high definition it is, but everything else is grainy during that time. So.
Yeah. I know, because as I was looking up some of our aviation stuff, that was what popped up, was some lady screaming at her newscasters, talking about, how is it that we did this live in 1964, and in 2024 you're telling us that nothing can operate that high?
Yeah, exactly.
We've talked about this. That's one of my biggest conspiracy theories. I can't wait to get into that in the future. Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yes, well, one of these days we should.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, keep going.
Oh, I would say the weird part is once you see what the outcome was, and you see that it heavily favored, let's say, about 3 or 4 sides of these conflicts, that before there was no it was said we couldn't go to war because the American people aren't behind us. If the American people aren't behind us when we go to war, there's no incentive for them to fight.
True.
Like, they talked about our generation at that point in time the same way they're talking about these Gen Z guys, where they're like, we can't send these soldiers. We can't send anybody from this generation over there. But I think that's what lends itself to the conspiracy theories, is you see this massive thing happen. There's a lot of confusion, and it unites. It legitimately was one of the first times I think I remember seeing the country united.
True. Yeah.
To the point that we weren't questioning government. We were all gung-ho to get over there. We all thought we wanted revenge. And then we got over there and found nothing that they told us we were supposed to find. You find out that technically, what is old boy's name? Not Osama.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah. Then you find out that he just wants to pull his country off the dollar.
Yeah.
And is going to create an all African monetary system. And that's why we decided he had to go.
Yep.
Because if it would have gone on longer and we were trying to convince us that we should go to war, he would have had an African dollar that would have been accepted by Iran and all those oil countries,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been a problem for the U.S. And they take land that Israel feels like they are entitled to. Uh, so the people that it benefits so heavily that it makes the conspiracies all plausible.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And not only that, but why do you not think that they could just say, "Here is the proof"? Um, other than no, watch the videos on CNN. We promise nothing doctored, nothing altered. Uh, and that's all. That's it.
Yep.
Oh,
That's the issue, and there's just so many smoking mirrors with things, and just I don't know. You hear so many different things when it comes to that. And in America, like it was a great thing that we all did unite. Like you said, like people were in this state of like turmoil and Republicans, but I've said this before, Republicans, they work off of fear. Democrats work off of information and science. What's going to get your people to come into your con? You make it seem like it's going to be right into their front door.
mm-hmm. Oh, oh. Do you gentlemen remember when we couldn't call anything French?
Yep.
Yo, let me get some freedom toast and freedom
Yeah, yeah, I
fries.
need some freedom fries. Yep, I remember that.
Because
It,
it was, they're not backing us up in this.
yep.
Well, F them too. And
Mm-hmm.
we won't eat your fries that are technically from Belgium.
Exactly. I
But
just, yeah. 9/11 is that the biggest conspiracy theory, and it's going to be like that for decades. Like we
well,
just don't know.
I think it's for real the JFK of our generation.
Yeah.
Because you ask anybody, I don't care what age they were,
Mm-hmm.
where were you when you heard about JFK?
Yep.
They will let you know the teacher's name and what room number they were in,
Yep.
or
Mm-hmm.
what errand they were running, or who told. Like that kind of a moment was what I thought we witnessed with that.
Or when the
Um,
Challenger exploded. Like, where were you when the Challenger exploded?
yeah,
Not
and
born.
Not born? Yeah, exactly. We weren't there.
not
It
feeling
ha-
challenged.
Actually, sorry, Challenger happened in 80. Yeah, I wasn't born yet. It was early 86.
Oh, see, just missed me.
Yep.
Yeah, uh,
Yeah, we weren't born. T wasn't
but
born either.
yeah,
Nope, I wasn't either.
I think that was what kind of encapsulates that one, and it ends
Yeah.
up in a war that nobody knows why we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, kept screaming, "We're gonna end it! We're gonna end it!" And we had soldiers. Heck, we had soldiers come back to our hometown who came back and said, "Yo, all I did was guard poppy seeds.
Yep.
They were poppy fields, like where they make heroin. Why would we be guarding poppy fields and oil fields?
I'm a
Like we're
lead
not
Yep.
farmer,
actively
motherfucker.
engaged in
Yeah,
war,
exactly.
but the oil and the heroin, we're entirely interested in controlling out of that area."
Yep. Yep. We have good friends that served in the military, and they were just like, I'm tired of this fucking shit. There's nothing up there. Like, we're just they're losing their friends, their
Yeah,
platoons every fucking day, like
yeah,
for bullshit.
because
A lot of
100%
wars.
you have
Mm-hmm.
two sides who do not want to be at war,
Yep.
who are being told by higher ups that you have to be at
You have
war.
to be at war. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but one
Absolutely.
side is just nonchalantly there trying to get their quote unquote tour done. The other side is trying to get these invaders out of their country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was one thing I thought was really interesting about that conflict as well. When we had friends that came back and they're like, "Yo, we're not the good guys."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
100%, bro. I get missions where I'm treating kids the same way I would treat like a 28-year-old over here.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because it's somebody who says they need to go clear this building for this purpose.
Right. Right.
But it
Yep.
is so real interesting one to me just because there's that many different angles.
Yep. I
Uh,
agree.
I
I
feel like
totally agree.
my favorite thing to say is, if I wrote the movie, this is how I would do it. And there is not a way to get two airplanes to knock down those towers,
Huh, right?
especially hitting them that high. Uh,
Well,
I'd
well
be
now
more
that you,
impressed if.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
what? Oh, I was gonna say impressed is probably the wrong word, but it would be more believable if those planes didn't hit so high. Like if they look like they were actually trying to knock the buildings down, I believe they're going towards the base of those towers
Yeah,
and taking down anything and everything that's in the path, because the idea is destruction. Uh, Heck, I don't hit the top of a Jenga pyramid in the upper, 5 rows, thinking it's gonna knock the whole thing over.
yeah,
Well, I think with that one, if you again, I love conspiracy theories. At the same time, I love science more. And when it comes down to the scientific facts about it, and this is one of those things that I love watching. I think every time 9/11, I just get so they especially on the History Channel and all those science channels, they break it down why the building went down, and it's because those planes had enough jet fuel, and that jet fuel has to go somewhere. And even after the planes went down, if you look at how the wreckage was and how much smoke was coming up, it's because of all that jet fuel was still down there, that they even had to cool down the equipment. If you look at the equipment while they were removing that stuff for weeks, they literally had to spray down their equipment because that jet fuel was still burning. Jet
It,
fuel,
crazy.
it
the
would be
jet
with
fuel had to go.
thermoblast too.
The
And
jet
Yeah,
fuel, the jet fuel had to go somewhere, and those planes were
correct.
real. So
But it wouldn't have been
yeah, they were.
it wouldn't have been a collapse that fast.
it
If
could.
it was due to that jet fuel would have had to get down to the base of the
So
building
what was
before
in
it
the middle
collapsed
of the,
that way.
what was in the middle of the building and on the sides that the both planes hit? The elevator shafts.
Thermoblast.
The
Oh,
elevator
that too.
shafts. The elevator
Uh,
shafts were right there.
well,
And if you think about all the people that went down there, the main reason they had to take the stairs is because the elevators were already on fire.
correct. And now think about that too with the science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they hit the elevator shafts, and in order for the jet fuel to get down to the bottom to burn the bottom as well, for that kind of collapse, let's say it just shoots all the way down the elevator shaft, right? So straight drop, all that great stuff. At that point in time, you're burning one side of the building. You're not burning all four. And if you're burning one side of the building, it does not fall directly on top of itself. The fact
Well,
that those two tall buildings fell down and did not impact anything else is crazy.
Yeah,
yeah, but I think you're only looking at as the plane only hit one side.
Sorry.
When you saw the planes actually hit the building, you saw it hit one side and the blast come out the other, and all the other sides actually get impacted by it. So it wasn't just
true.
one side and it stopped. It wasn't like if I hit a wall and I fell over, it actually went through the plane or through the building. Both
Through the
planes,
building. Yeah,
when you look at the footage, both planes and all the footages, there's so many videos out there that you could see both sides, and both planes, when they hit one side, impacted the other side. Flames came out the other side.
hmm.
So, but what I was going to go into is just a summary. T, I know Trey will be back with us in a few seconds, and then we'll get to
Yep.
him. But T, I want to hear your summary of all the aviation conspiracy theories. How did you feel about the main three of them, and maybe throw in Amelia Earhart or the pilots over Bermuda? How do you feel about it? You personal?
I'm scared of planes. Just like you and I had that conversation, the dreams, where you had the dream
The
about the
dreams, yeah.
airplane and shit, like when we were on it, like just shit like that. Like aviation stuff is so crazy, but all of these have just different components. Bermuda Triangle, ulterior motives for to bring other governments down, hijackings, um, just regular test flights, money. Like there's these just have so many things, and it's very scary because you could be just taking a regular plane to wherever you're traveling to, and some shit like this can happen, and you're a part of history.
Yep.
Like you just every time I get on a plane, I'm just like, man, I'm thinking of all the shit that happened on a plane. Is it gonna be on the one I'm on?
Yo, I'm
Like,
not even gonna
you
front.
know,
I got my sister getting married. Uh, shoot, maybe next weekend. Oh dang, yeah, it is next weekend. Uh, I gotta hop on a flight from Denver to Vegas. and I'm here to let you know, it terrifies the heck out of me because even though we do talk about that Bermuda Triangle and all of its wonders,
Yes.
I believe it's about the same going over some of these mountains.
Oh, like the Spain
Oh,
one. I forgot about the Spain crash.
all right. Let's.
Remember the plane that crashed over Spain and hit the mountain?
Oh yeah,
I forgot
that.
about
See,
that one.
stuff like that, like just dumb things. Because guess what? If we crash, everybody lives, and we're on the top of a mountain. I don't know who makes it to the bottom.
Exactly.
I do know it's a very interesting movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, and I know if I am the I don't know the word to say it. Uh, but as you guys know, you can look at me and tell that I'm a Leo. So if I were to look across the plane and see that I'm the only Leo on the plane, I think cannibalism might go on, right?
What is this, Lost?
Something like that. Uh, but I mean, the fun thing with conspiracy theories is you can let your mind go wild.
Yes, yes.
Uh, I think as weird as it is, in times of emergency, people's minds do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
whether it's actual emergency or perceived emergency. Um,
Absolutely.
and I believe you could. I hate using the word manifest, but I believe you could think things into happening. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that person who thinks everybody's looking at them, so
Mm-hmm.
they have that angry face and that bad energy about them, which then makes everybody look at them like, "What's wrong with them?" And at the end of the day, they're right,
True.
but everybody's just looking at them because of their already anticipated faces and stuff.
True. So it's basically manifesting it into existence for it to happen. It's all a part of the secret,
Exactly.
whether it's good or bad.
I entirely believe that, and because good or bad is just perspective,
Yeah.
right? Um, the what happened on 9/11 is bad. If
Absolutely.
if what happened on 9/11 netted you $1 billion, I don't know how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm. How do you sleep at
Especially
night?
if it wouldn't have happened without 9/11.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
War is all about money, guys. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. So Trey, I know you bounced out for a second. I asked TJ this. Go ahead and give the listeners a quick summary of how you feel about all the aviation conspiracy theories. Just break it down. Quick summary of what you think about it.
Oh, deal. Quick summary. I think the aviation theories are very fun to talk about because there are so many different variables that we don't know.
Yeah.
None of us are pilots. So as we're talking about, they went off course and went off path. If they were taking a shortcut or there was a known shortcut or something, you know what I mean? Like this is what the map says, but this is what every pilot does. We would never know.
True.
Um, if something were to go offline with equipment or heck anything with the black box, I mean, technically we wouldn't know. And the weirder part about it is all of it is us disseminating information that was given to us from about like a third party source.
Mm-hmm.
You
True.
know what I mean? As we're talking about the Malaysia flight, um, I honestly don't remember and didn't see where when I was doing any of the research stuff, where they talked to any of those what are they called, air traffic control cats.
I think they did within the first hour, and then it went quiet, and then the
Yep.
blimp disappeared.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it was one of those, and that conspiracy theorist, as I'm thinking, dude, you put that there to say that no, we talked to one person. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
that person probably worked for whatever company was doing the interview, right? Um, but it becomes very, very fun with the ones in the air and the ones on the water, just because there's expertise levels that all we can do is speculate.
Right.
And in which case, we're like, well, if they could give us the answer in simple English, there would be no more conspiracy about it. But the fact that they can't do it, if all right, TJ, you
Hmm.
got kids. If your
Yep.
kids can't give you a straight answer to what happened, what is your first feeling?
They're lying.
Just saying. Like when you're over here, like, well, look, I'm not saying that you were doing backflips and cartwheels and everything. I'm just saying there's a broken plate on the floor.
Yeah.
How did the plate break?
What happened?
Well, gravity.
Yeah,
Like, it's an
exactly.
answer, but it is not a satisfactory answer.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I feel like anytime you can't go to the people who provide the answer and tweak it till it's satisfactory, there's foul play afoot.
Yeah, there is. There's something behind it. What did you
Yeah.
feel, Notch?
So my thing
What
with
are your final
aviation,
thoughts?
it really falls on T what he said. Planes are terrifying. I love taking plane flights, but you never know what part of history you're going to land with. If we look at the
Mhm.
ones that we did talk about, Malaysia flight, the Malaysian flights, both of them, I really think that the government had to do something with it. We'll never know. Again, we question and all that stuff, but unless you talk to the source, and unfortunately, half of the source is no longer with us, we'll never know about that stuff. Amelia Earhart, listeners, if you ever want a good history, if you want to dive deep into it, I love reading about that flight, the path, and everything like that. Check it out. Well, the 9/11, I really believe that the government was involved with that one. Not necessarily the plane crashes. I think they knew and were aware, and that's a conspiracy theory that we didn't really go into. But I think the
Mhm.
government knew about it. They just didn't act because they knew that, hey, this could start a war, and that's how we make money. Because if you look at
Yep.
George Bush, even when they talked to him, he had that dumb face, which we all know. He just wanted to learn about the ducks. He didn't really care about anything when he was sitting there reading a story to the kindergartners.
Hmm.
What were the other
Dave
ones that were?
Chappelle told you that.
Well, I remember watching the footage of him just sitting
They're
there
trying
while
to
they
kill my
whispered it.
father.
While they were just listening. Bermuda
Mhm.
Triangle is scary. It's always been a huge love reading about the Bermuda Triangle. And then
Yep.
listeners, one of the biggest things that I really wanted to talk about is there's so many aviation stories. Of course, we had the Cooper dude that jumped out of there. But if you ever want to watch a really, really, really good movie, it's on Netflix. It's called Society of the Snow. It's about the aircraft in the Andes that actually crashed, and that soccer team that was just trying to get to a soccer match. They actually had to survive, and they had to eat the bodies. So that one was
Oof.
actually based off a true story because there were survivors. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing movie. Crazy books about it, but it's called Society of the Snow, about Flight
Mm.
571. So I know we didn't get into a lot of crashes and stories out there, but listeners, definitely
Honorable
know,
mentions.
definitely let us know if you want us to talk about something else. How you feel about 9/11, Malaysia flight, and Cooper, and all those other ones. Even if you want to talk about the Hindenburg, I love Hindenburg.
Oh yes.
Great, great,
Hmm.
great,
I
very
forgot
cool.
about that one too.
One of the earliest footages of an airplane or aircraft crashing. Uh, yeah, that's how I feel about all that stuff.
Mm. Well, guys, the truth is out there. We're just trying to figure it out. And listeners, this is just our opinions. These are what we've researched. We're not trying to give you 100% facts. We're just what is out there in the blogosphere, in your Googleplexes. This is just, we love doing this. Like Not said, it's fun to get into this stuff, picking our brains and just diving into, what's going on in the world. So
And we're not
you
trying to
guys do
step
your
on
own
anybody's
research.
toes either. Yeah, do your own
Absolutely
research.
not.
This is our own opinions. At the end of the day, 9/11 was a big impact to all of us, no matter what. It's
Mm-hmm.
all something that's heavy in our hearts. So even though we might talk a certain way about this stuff, it's still a tragic tragedy and stuff like that. All of
Yes,
them, Malaysia,
absolutely.
it
All of
doesn't
them.
affect us, but still, Amelia Earhart, Cooper, not so much. He stole some money. Good for
He's
him.
a
Whatever.
airplane Robin Hood, like
Yeah,
Not
he's just a
said.
pirate. He's just a
I'm just
pirate.
saying, no scallywags on that plane. Uh,
But
but
that's what, yeah.
also just want to say, as we're talking about asking for comments and everything, big conspiracy theorists, all of this that we're talking about was probably to distract us from something else. What
Exactly.
else was going on that honestly we should be talking about?
Yeah, well, we
Let's
talked about that in the beginning, but we definitely, the next episode we will get
We'll get
into
into
that.
it,
Oh,
but it's crazy that
no,
you
I was
speak
saying
about that
in the
because
comments.
if you guys look at your phone, they did come out with the name for said shooter of what happened today. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So
I mean, can you imagine they identified somebody with no face?
let's.
What?
I'm just. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's gonna be able to tell his side of the story.
Hmm.
Uh,
Pretty
and
sure he wrote books and stuff, but we will never hear about that stuff.
We'll never hear
He
about
probably
it.
posted about it and all that stuff because you know how those shooters do. Not going to
true,
say
he's
anything,
probably
but
handed.
they definitely follow a pattern of all those big
Mhm.
shooters. So we're not
Yes,
going to,
they
we'll get into a
do.
little bit later, but I'm just saying there's a certain type
I'm
of
just saying.
people that like to buy those guns and try to take people out.
Yep.
Between now and then, watch. There's gonna be a video where it's gonna show the person take those shots, 3 shots, right? And he's gonna turn in here and say, "Yo, hold this real quick," and roll over. And the dude who's like, "Wait, do what?" Boom, there he goes.
Yep. Gone.
Yep.
Hmm.
And now nobody talks about the story. And Donald Trump is rapping Mini Men every
Oh my gosh. All
every
right.
rally since then. All right.
Listeners, it's always been a pleasure. This is No More Lies. TJ, me, I'm Notch, and Trey, the guy that's getting into another podcast that we're going to do at a later date. But this was Aviation Conspiracy Theories. Like TJ said before, make sure you like, subscribe, check out all the channels, Cool Attire, all of our Instagrams, Facebooks. We'll be coming out with Facebook. T, did you want to talk about what we did earlier this
Yes.
today?
Listeners, if you didn't catch the first episode of the Cool Radio, you guys need to go ahead and do that. It's only a Spotify exclusive, and you guys can listen at your leisure. You can vibe and ride. That will be updated and uploaded here soon. Editing is currently in process. So yeah, that first episode of Cool Radio, Trizzy, we're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
get you on it too because all three of us love music, and we could just drop our tracks for the playlist for our listeners so that they can vibe and seeing what we're on. So
Yep.
yes, the Jam
Gentlemen,
and Nacho Radio.
I entirely support that. I
And I
have
think
gotten into bands that I never thought I would get into.
Yep.
Like
well,
they scream at me a little bit.
you said bands, so I'm all for it. I love bands.
Yes. Yo, when we get off this pod,
Trey's
to
about to
the
say
group chat,
scary
I'm
kids
about to
scaring
send you.
kids.
I know, right?
Nah. Have you guys ever heard of Ice Nine Kills?
No.
Yo, all of their songs are based off of scary movies.
Oh,
Nice.
we're gonna have to get into that.
Yo, I'm gonna send it to you. Like I'm gonna go see them at Mission Ballroom in October. I'm entirely
Dang.
all about them. Yo, I'm gonna
Trey,
send
you
you
about to get into
2
your
joints
emo
from
phase?
them. Yo, it is nuts because those two, and then there's one Electric Callboy. Yo, I'm entirely hooked on them. Uh, I'm gonna send y'all some tracks, like favorite tracks of mine. But one of my bosses here recently turned me on to them, and I've been bumping them ever since. Yo, they got a Walking on Sunshine cover, and the Walking on Sunshine cover, I'll send you the video. Like I told you, it's all based off of scary movies. Their Walking on Sunshine is based kind of off the American Psycho.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I'm saying? They got one called like Batteries Included or something like that. That's about Chucky. Yo, uh, something about camping at Crystal Lake. Like all of their songs are legitimately tied to scary movies. So when you listen to them, you could tell they're talking about Freddy Krueger. I'm gonna send y'all some stuff.
Well,
Telling you.
listeners, there's your recommendation for some music
That's
as
it.
well. So
Heck
No More
yeah.
Lies doing recommendations as well. Listeners, also just remember this is a weekly thing. Trey T and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to give you some more. I believe next week might be an urgent breaking news, a conspiracy theory where
Yeah,
we
it
might have
might
to
be.
talk about what happened today. But until then,
Mm-hmm.
Trey, do you got anything else?
Nope, the truth is out there.
That's
Keep
it,
The truth
searching.
shall set you free.
listeners.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fun.
Till next time, y'all.
Yes, sir. Stay looking.
Yes. Peace.
Peace.